What's going on, everyone? This is Richard Kuo. I'm here with Tim Han. You're watching the Infinite Mastery interview series, and I'm really excited to have Tim on today. He has figured out a way to grow his YouTube channel by 50,000 subscribers. He's gone through quite the life journey. He is the founder of SuccessInsider.tv, as well as the YouTube channel. And he is a very successful marketing person, a peak performance coach. And I'm sure there's a lot more to him that I have yet to know. He is a mutual friend of mine through our friend Jay Wong, who is the founder of the Inner Changemaker podcast. Tim, can you fill us in here? Thank you so much for having us on. Can you fill us in a little bit more about yourself and anything that I might have missed? Please.
You pretty much nailed it on its head. So I basically specialize in making entrepreneurs reach their peak full potential. Increasing productivity is basically my passion, because I know what it's like to not be productive, because I've been through one hell of a journey, as you mentioned. And also in regards to marketing, marketing and self-development started around the same time for me, because I've quickly realized how similar they were in regards to understanding consumer psychology on the marketing side, and on self-development side, just understanding the mind of human beings. And I realized, wow, you can entwine the two. So yeah.
Awesome. So thank you. Today, what I want to do is I want to dive in deeper. So some people might know who you are, some people might not. And what I want to do is I want all of us by the end of this interview to really get to know who you are and where you came from. Because I think you have a really powerful story that I have yet to hear in its entirety. I've seen a little bits and pieces on your site. So obviously you're in a great place that you are today. But I want to talk about I want to hear a little bit more about your childhood. You know, where did you grow up? What was your house like? Who did you live with? Whether it was like mom and dad, brothers, sisters, things like that. And what was the environment like growing up?
Okay, so I grew up I was born in South Korea. And at the age of 2, my real father decided to leave me and my sister, as well as my mother. It was an abusive relationship they had, and I believe I did witness some of the things that happened. But you know, when something's just so distraught, your mind wants to just shut it off. I think back on my mind, I know what was happening, such as, you know, my mum ended up in the hospital at one time. In a way, I'm glad it happened. So I grew up with a single mother who worked really hard day and night to put food on the table. We weren't wealthy. And I recall, it's just this really weird memory. It's basically when we were reaching for the rice, we used to have a little scoop for the rice, put it in the rice bag. And we used to like find bugs and stuff. And you know, when you're a child, you don't know why things are, you just think they're normal. But looking back, you know, I think it's just, that was just the state we were in. You know, we was just a really working class, it wasn't that all too great. What ended up happening about 5 years later is my mum met an English person who we soon began calling Dad. And I recall he basically took us to his flat, which was much nicer, more luxury. And it's the first time I ever was really exposed to something so nice. To cut the long story short, we ended up moving to Australia, Sydney. And then I finally got to a country where he lived, which was England. And he lived in a town called Poole. Now, I basically wasn't aware of the whole Western culture. But soon I began to find out what it was all about, especially from the negative side, because I started school, middle school, and I was the only Asian person other than my sister. Now, because my sister was a girl, she got less abuse than me, because all throughout middle school I was bullied. I recall just trying to fit in, and it's just every day just feeling so shy. Because, I mean, I've always been shy as growing up, and I remember trying to make friends, but, you know, people just calling me names, just the typical Jackie Chan, you know, all this racist slur words. And I remember one break time, I was literally just stood in the corner, just looking at all the children just playing. And I broke down in tears, because I just thought to myself, you know, why don't they like me, and what can I really do, you know? I felt really confused during that time in my life, and middle school was hell, because I used to go home every day, just wanting to never go back again. I remember, taking a cold shower, pretending that I was ill to my mum. Rarely it worked, but when it did, it gave me the temporary relief that I needed. And from there, the middle school went and high school started, and that's when things started to go downhill. Because basically on the first day out of high school, I promised for myself that I was going to do whatever it takes to fit in with the cool kids. And the cool kids at the time were basically the ones who basically dealt drugs, hang around in gangs and stuff like that. And basically I became one of those people. I soon realized that I had a mindset whereby I'm willing to do whatever it takes, and if I'm going to do something, I'm going to go all the way. Because what they were doing, they were smoking weed, taking drugs here and there. But I thought to myself, why not start selling it? Because I thought I would appear more cool. So I started to deal it. As a result, because I started dealing drugs, I started getting into more fights. And then I was like, okay, what's the next step? Well, growing it. And I started growing the drugs until we got robbed by one of the gang members. But yeah, I was literally always just doing whatever it takes in a wrong manner almost. And that's basically what happened. I was just like in a deep pit, and I was hanging around gangs. And, gangs nowadays, they're seen with girls, but I was still shy. I was still the old me. And yeah, I really struggled in getting laid. And this was all due to the fact that I just wanted to fit in. The reason why I was doing everything is because I just wanted to fit in. Just wanted to be accepted amongst my social peers. Didn't want to be in pain from being bullied. And one day, it just kind of hit a threshold. Everything just built up. Everything that happened throughout my life, partying, drugs here, alcohol here, never really respecting my parents, because, when you become somebody that is under influence constantly, all you're thinking about is your next hit. As a result, I was robbing money. I was spending money that wasn't mine. I was doing stuff that I would say it wasn't me. It wasn't me. In fact, one of the things that, that still remains with me is my broken knuckle. If you really look at that knuckle, it's actually, it never healed. And I think if this was a sign, I think this was a sign for me to really just stop. Because if I was to punch anyone with this knuckle right now, because it's bent here, it's very likelihood it will break. And I think, what? I believe that it was just universe trying to tell me, what? This is the time just to stop. And how that happened was on New Year's Day. I woke up.
How old were you?
I was 17 on New Year's Day. Basically, I woke up and I was puking. Like, I've gone out night before because we always just drink so heavy until we start puking. And I remember I ran to the toilet and I just started head down the bowl, just puke. Felt like I had a really bad food poisoning, but like it was just alcohol poisoning. And I remember like 5 minutes just non-stop, and I felt like I was dying. I had a temporary moment of silence. It was about 5 seconds long, and it was enough for me to gain consciousness. And in that moment, I was like, hey, I got to do something. Because it was like, shit, I need to stop. So I thought to myself, why didn't I jump on YouTube and type in something long, type in something that will basically come up with something that's long, slow, and boring. That way I'll fall asleep. And so I typed in presentation on YouTube. And that's when I came across the presentation by Steve Jobs. I didn't know who he was at the time. All I thought was, wow, 25-minute presentation. This is going to be freaking boring. So there was me thinking I'm going to watch it for 2 minutes. But I ended up watching it for the whole 20 minutes, however long it is. And the messages that got seeded in my mind that morning literally woke me up. One of the quotes that really just struck a chord, and it just lit something inside me, was that you can't connect the dots looking forwards. You can only connect the dots looking backwards. So you have to trust that one day the dots will connect. And for me, that resonated so highly because I've realized I fucked up. But something deep inside me knew there was more. However, because I didn't change my environment, which I didn't know anything about, I didn't know about self-development, guess what? That day, I ended up going out with my friends again. Nothing changed. I was like, wow, inspired for 5 minutes, but back to normal.
Right.
And it went on for several months more until basically one day my mum discovered everything I was doing. And she basically had this look that I've never really seen before. And she basically said, Tim, I want to go on a walk with you, and I just really want to just speak with you. And it was just during this walk that really changed my life. What she said to me was, Tim, when you was younger, I did everything for you. I worked day and night to put food on the table. I did everything just to keep you guys fed, to give you the bare essentials that you wanted. The question is, will you be there for me, Tim, when I need you? Will you be there for me, Tim, when I want your help? And it was in that moment I woke up. Because I realized then, this journey, the reason why I wasn't getting results, the reason why I felt so shit, is because I was focused on me. I woke up that moment and realized, you know what? It's the moment I start focusing on somebody else, extending beyond myself. That's the moment I believed I was going to be successful. And something just literally just woke up in that moment. I was like, you know what? I got to do something. So yeah, that's
wow,
the shifting point.
Thank you for sharing that. I want to ask, so at your shifting point, in that moment where you had that conversation with your mom, did you have, was it like this immediate, like, okay, I got to do this. Let's do this right now. And let's commit 100% to it. Or was it like, oh shoot, this is what I got to do, but I don't know if I'm going to do it. Like, did you have that resistance, and what was that path like after that moment?
I channeled all my energy, all my passion, obsession, whatever you want to call it, addiction that I had for drugs onto what I viewed as the life I wanted to be living. And one of the things I started to focus on firstly was to not hang around with my friends. And the way I did that was I started to tell my friends my dream, or one of my goals is to get like a really ripped body. And, that's a cool thing amongst guys. So I was like, I'm working on my aesthetics right now, guys. So I don't want to go out with you, drink alcohol. It's not good for my gains. So I started to reinvent my health. And every morning I woke up at 4 a.m., just go on a massive sprint, HIIT, just high intensity intervals. And I just felt like if at the moment I started channeling all my passion, obsession, addiction from drugs onto that, I just was all in. And as a result, because I was reinventing my health, because I wasn't drinking a lot, I realized I had so much energy during the day. And that's when I started to come up with a plan. So that's what I did.
Interesting. So for myself, for me personally, it's been like a ongoing process to find that level of commitment and channeling the energy in the right way. And I'm wondering for you, to me, it sounds like what I'm hearing you say is that the energy that you've had, you were able to shift it pretty quickly into focusing your energy in the right place. I'm curious to know, like, were there challenges? Was it a hard, difficult process for you to transition that energy from, hanging out with your friends and being involved with things that weren't forwarding with your life to more productive things like exercise, getting that ripped body and everything else that you wanted? Or was it like a huge struggle? What was it like?
I think looking back at it, and now from a neuro-linguistic programming point of view, is just I attached a lot of pain, which I didn't mention, that Steve Jobs also mentioned about death. And, everybody knows that they're going to die, but not everybody really owns that concept. And Steve Jobs, just said something that really just was wow. And it's almost like, that seeded something. My mum was a catalyst, but the Steve Jobs seeded that a bit of information. So the reason why for me it was quite effortless is because I was like, fuck, I'm going to die. So I remember literally this was what's going on in my head when I'm exercising. And still to this day, when I'm lifting that heavy ass weight, I'm like, if this was life or death, and I imagine, pushing a car up and imagine like there's a child down. So just basically imagine a life or death situation. I'm like, if I don't lift this, I'm going to die. That's basically what I'm imagining.
I'm wondering for you, as you were, building up, shifting from the whole being involved with drugs, fighting, everything, like all the, I guess, in quote unquote negative influence, and shifting into a more positive lifestyle. You kind of mentioned that that was something that was more like it seemed like a pretty quick transition for you. And I'm curious because for myself, my transition was very long. Like my mindset was like, can someone please make my life so miserable to the point where I'm motivated to make that transition? Because it took a long time, it took many years of like dragging my feet until I hit that point. So for you, did you have those moments of you just felt like, did your feet drag when you made that? Or like as soon as you had that conversation with your mom, something clicked for you and boom, you just hit the ground running?
For me, Steve Jobs seeded something and my mum was a catalyst. And one of the things that was seeded from Steve Jobs was basically death. And a lot of people nowadays, know that we're all going to die. People share it on Instagram and stuff. But I think very few people really own that concept. Very few people actually really treat each day as if it was your last. And for me, I actually began treating every single day as if it was my last. I did it in the way I worked out. When I was in the gym, I would literally, if I can't lift anymore, I would imagine lifting a car, and if I let go, it's going to crush me and I'll die. It was so extreme, but I would basically do stuff like as if it was going to be my last day. And, I did exactly the same. As soon as I got home from the gym, I realized, wow, this is what it's like to feel healthy for once. Because, my lungs were free from smoke and stuff like that. And I was like, wow, I've got to do exactly the same in regards to how I view business. Because I started to realize, wow, I want to be in this whole business game. So, yeah.
Have you ever read The Slight Edge?
Never read
Jeff Olson?
No.
That's a great book. I recommend it. So Jeff Olson in the book talks about how it's very easy to do something. For example, go to the gym. And it's even easier to not do something. Not go to the gym. So I'm curious for you. It's like I'm hearing like for you were able to picture that whole life or death and really live into that. Tomorrow's never guaranteed. So like live every single day like it's your last. How did you shift into and own that idea that like on how do you live today like it's your last day? Because I think a lot of people struggle with that.
Really looking at it now from a NLP perspective, as I'm a master's practitioner in that field. It's almost like I anchored a lot of pain to basically procrastination. And I think it's because I hit that threshold of doing nothing and literally doing nothing every single day. Like literally just, sitting around with the guys, just smoking weed, just talking about just bullshit. And because I anchored so much pain to just being still and doing nothing, I think the moment I was momentum, my mind, the way I shifted it, I was like, wow, this is good. This is the stuff I need to be doing. And I kept on just basically just pushing myself. And one of the ways I did that was basically constantly keeping up the health regime. Because health was training my mind how to constantly take action. The way I did that first is set a morning ritual whereby I wake up at 4 a.m. Because for me, I was a late sleeper because I used to be a stoner. And I remember thinking, okay, 4 a.m., I'm going to get up, I'm going to sprint. So that's basically what I did every single morning. And I remember just as about to go out the door, my mind saying, Tim, don't do it, it's cold. And I remember as soon as I opened the door, that cold breeze just like on your face. And I was like, okay, this is the mind that's going to hold me back. And I knew I just need to tell it to shut the fuck up and just get out and run. And after a while, it trained my mind. Whenever it feels that procrastination, whenever it feels that cold breeze and you don't want to go out, but I just go, it trained my mind, I'm just going to take action. And now I'm at the stage where, after 8 years, it's just automatic. Of course, I still keep up with the rituals in regards to fitness to train that action taking machine, I would like to call it. So that's how I always keep it up. That's how I keep on just really just moving forwards.
So, when did you learn about NLP or neuro-linguistic programming? For those people who don't know what it is, and also for people who don't know what it is, can you explain a little bit more about what NLP is?
So I learned NLP. It's actually quite recent. When I began creating this YouTube channel, Success Insider, when I truly felt like it's my time to contribute. I began realizing this whole NLP stuff was powerful. And what was so funny is I began to realize that a lot of the stuff I was doing, without realizing, was NLP principles. NLP is basically studying of the language of the unconscious and conscious mind, about how we frame things in reality, how we've got, negative, positive anchors. Anchor is, have you ever heard a song and it's brought you back memories, or have you ever smelt something? These are anchors, right? Some of them are positive, some of them are negative. NLP allows you to set positive anchors where you can feel motivation on demand, where you can feel willpower on demand, whatever feeling you want to feel, confidence, you can anchor it. And there are so many different techniques. And I find it's so interesting because, ever since going into this field, I realized that I was doing a lot of stuff without actually realizing what I was doing. And people start coining these terms. And I remember telling somebody one day, I was like, oh, this is what I'm doing. They're like, oh, isn't that what they came up with? I'm like, I have no freaking clue. How can he coin something that happens in our minds? Like, how can somebody say, this is what I came up with? Listen, we're all bloody like millions of years old. And it's just funny how the moment somebody goes really big, like they can say, yeah, key to success is action. And then when anybody else says key to success is action, they're like, you're just copying that guy. And I'm like, oh, what a load of bullshit. I'm going off a bit on the tangent there, but
no, that's, I think it's perfect. And one little thing I want to add on top of that is, I think at the end of the day, we are a accumulation of everything that we've picked up in life. So essentially, we're just a bunch of copycats. We're absorbing information and creating and interpreting it in a different way and just feeding it towards other people. So
definitely,
I think if you're not copying people, you're doing something wrong. That's what I think. So I want to ask you now, what drives you? I know we talked about this a little bit earlier before the interview, but I want to hear from you. What drives you?
What drives me is basically not wanting to be average. Not wanting to be who I was. Not wanting to neglect my relationship with my mum, my father, in the way I was basically doing. Not wanting to steal money from my own parents to feed my drug habit. Not wanting to just basically go back into this whole, getting into fights, causing people pain, punching people in the face because I found enjoyment. That's what drives me. And I've attached a lot of pain and fear to going back there. And I've realized deep inside how easy it is to get back there. For me, I've got a very addictive personality. That's something I've come to a conclusion with. So the moment I obsess with, building a YouTube channel, contribution, guess what? I'm all in. But, I experienced this literally about 2 years ago. Somebody offered me like a spliff. And I promised to my mum I'll never, ever do it again. And, I didn't do it. But I heard that same part of mine that got me addictive. It was like, Tim, just one, just do it. And basically, it's just that little addiction I've got is dangerous. So I know how easy it is to get back. And this is why I've been off alcohol for the last 12 months now, because there was this 1 week when I was doing so much networking. Every day I was drinking and got to a stage where I was like, wow, I'm actually drinking every day. And it was normal. My mind was saying, it's fine, Tim. It feels good. You can socialize more because, social anxiety has always been my issue. And social anxiety creeps in, whenever I'm not, keeping up with my self-development. And I remember just drinking to feel confident, and I just kept on doing it. And that's honestly just what it is. Yeah.
Right on. I want to dive in a little bit more about the future. I think a lot of people are curious, how the heck did you create 50,000 subscribers in 3 days? Where did that come from? And fill me in on the numbers. I think did you hit over 1 million in 1 million views on your viral video in 3 days? Was it also?
That's right. Yeah. So I had a YouTube video that went viral. It was using a strategy that I came up with, and I can't say it's gonna work for everybody. That's the thing. Nothing's guaranteed, and especially when you're aiming for viral growth, it's a lottery. It's literally a lottery when you're aiming for viral. You should always aim for slow growth. Basically, I implemented a strategy and it worked. And, I've tried it again and, it gets me a lot of views. But the thing is, that video was posted 3 months before. It just picked off like that. So you'll find
Yeah.
some videos like literally just sit around for a year, just all of a sudden just poof, like overnight.
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays I'm not focused on that because, I've got a lot of followers from there. And now I'm just, I'm just like contribution, just really just giving back to my community and just, just that's what happened. I just implemented a strategy.
Yeah. Awesome. And would you say that video and that the fact that it went viral, would you say that's contributed a lot to supporting you along your journey of success and coaching and everything that you do?
Yeah, it's I can't describe how strange this life is. When people see me, sometimes they think, oh, this well-groomed guy is never like, they think I'm some serious business guy, which in a way I can be. But I do have a very spiritual view on life. And I truly believe deep inside my heart that every single day that life's giving us signs and opportunities, as well as messages. And it's only the moment we become conscious of those messages is the moment we can accept it and actually grow, learn, and actually take away something that may potentially change our life. And this growth, happens just out of the blue. And it's almost like, I believe the universe is just trying to say, Tim, this is what you got to be in. This is what you got to focus your effort on. Because it could have happened to anybody, but it happened to me on this particular channel. I've been through 8 channels. So I've always experimented. This isn't like one channel that's succeeded. Although I've had a channel in the past that went viral, but this isn't the only one. I've been through literally 8 channels. I've been through 8 different names.
Yeah.
It was just this particular one that picked up. And, one of the things what people don't know about me is, they know that story, but they don't know what really happened in regards to 3 years ago, because, it can all be up, but there, as you probably know, there is going to be a time where it just goes down and you're like, fuck. Because 3 years ago, do you mind if I share?
Yeah, please.
Basically 3 years ago, I actually thought that was my time to contribute. And it was my final year of university. And I remember just wanting to, I had so much pressure, first of all, wanting to figure out what I really wanted to do. Figure out, trying to, I suppose, look good in front of my parents. I wanted to feel like I owned it and I wanted to make them feel proud. And I remember having so much on my plate and eventually deciding that I wanted to become a coach. And I remember every day I would wake up, film videos, and just try anything. Just try reading articles online, uploading video, and I put my blood, sweat, and tears. And a couple of days passed, nothing. A month passed, literally nothing. It got to a point in my life where I honestly felt truly depressed once again. But this time, it was so deep. It was deeper almost than when I hit rock bottom. And I remember every day I would walk past this bridge to go home. And I remember one evening I walked past, and this time I actually stopped. And I thought to myself, what would happen if I was to just jump? What would happen if I was to just leave it there? And it was in that moment, something just said stop. And I decided to just jump on a call again with my mum. And just really just properly open up this time. And she again just reminded me of this journey, about the fact that she hustled day and night. And I want to just give up. That spark of inspiration, made me just go home that day. Reminded me of the fact that the moment we start focusing on ourselves, is the moment we're going to forever be depressed, unhappy, never getting results. And it was that day, I got home and I was like, you know what, all these blogs are saying this, all the blogs saying that. I want to try something new. And I started to just come up with a new strategy of how to do something. And yeah, it started to work. It wasn't quite the hit I was looking for, but it worked. And basically I went on, and a couple of years later I decided, yep, this is my time. I'm going to try and implement everything I've learned now. Let's go all out. And that was Success Insider.
Awesome, man. Wow. Thank you. I gotta pick your brain a little bit, and I might put you on the spot a little bit here, but I'm curious, and I think a lot of people are curious. What were the strategies that you use in order to hit your get that like video viral and create all the subscribers?
Okay. There was so many factors. In fact, I have to spend a whole hour speaking about it at an event, and that's still not enough. That's why I'm gonna have to come up with a course. But just one of the things is to basically model success, which is to find out, content that have gone viral in the past, and then basically picking that and realizing, the reason why things get shared is either because it creates, it's got some sort of trigger. For example, when you think of Friday, Rebecca Black. When you think of Kit Kat, have a break, right? Yeah. So you need to have a trigger for the video. And my video was rich, right? 3 signs you'll become rich one day. It didn't really have a trigger in a sense, but the title was super catchy. There was numbers involved, which meant the retention was super long, which YouTube rewards. YouTube really loves watch time. And yeah, it's just, there are so many elements that it just goes into it. Another thing I do before I do any videos, pre-frame. So basically, I just copy the body language of let's say somebody on the other side watching that content. If it's a video about how to feel happy when you're depressed, I would literally just go into their mind and just really feel what it's like to be sad. Right. And then the moment I go live, I'm looking at that video and that one person only. And then I'm speaking to them as if I've already accessed their mind. I know how they feel, and I'm delivering it like that. And I think once you really just come from a congruent place where you just like speaking from your heart and you're not filtering anything, people will share it, because when people really like care, they share. And I think that's one of the things I've always wanted to do with my videos, just capture that emotion and just realize this is what I want to do. This is my passion. Yeah.
Powerful. Right on. I 100% agree. I think when I look at my own YouTube channel, my top videos, all my top videos are the ones where they're unfiltered. They're vulnerable. They're like, one of my most popular videos, Why I Quit Video Games Addiction, is I start off the video like, this is literally one of my deepest, darkest secrets I've ever had. And it still is to this day. Not to this day, but back then when I recorded like 2.5 years ago or so, I just opened myself up. And when we are open, when we're connected to other people and being able to empathize and understand how they're feeling, that's definitely a great way to create value to people. And one thing I want to mention is, just because I know the person that you are, I know like marketing and getting viral videos, all that stuff is super supportive in growing our audience size and really creating more opportunities to reach out to people. But on a deeper level, it's not about the 1 million views or the 50,000 subscribers for you. It's really about the content. It's about like, how can I draw people in using this video that gained 1 million views, so those people can watch my other videos, the ones that also matter, the ones that are so deep for me, and really learn from there and be impacted. So thank you for sharing that. And that's kind of what I heard in between the lines.
No worries.
All right, cool. So I have a lot of young people here watching the videos. I would say a lot of teens, as well as people in their 20s and a few 30s. A lot of people trying to kind of build up their self-esteem and really find what their passion is with their lives. So my question to you is, what advice would you give to someone who's still trying to figure out, how do you build up that self-esteem? How do you transition from this whole challenging situation of like, not really wanting to, or not really seeing a purpose of life, and creating purpose for yourself?
Well, I definitely know what it feels like to feel like you don't have a purpose in life. And it's a horrible feeling. It is a horrible feeling. And, I'm stood here today saying, once you really just, let's say, have that one break, you realize, wow, I feel purposeful. But in order for you to get to that purposeful state, the only secret really is to just be in momentum. The moment you stop is the moment you lose. I remember hearing this analogy, which I thought was beautiful. Imagine, let me ask you, what's the purpose of a honeybee?
To produce some honey.
Exactly. And he probably thinks the same.
Provide food.
Yeah? He probably thinks the same. But if you really look at the bigger picture, the purpose of a honeybee is to actually, if you think about it, if once the honeybee is gone, the whole ecosystem actually collapses. There is a real big picture beyond that honeybee. Imagine this bee, let's call him Bob. One day he decides, actually, I want to go find my purpose. I feel, purposeless. I feel depressed right now. I'm going to go sit on that rose petal and really just figure this shit out. Maybe read a book here and there. The moment he does that is the moment his purpose is actually demolished. The moment he stops and ponders is the moment he actually loses his purpose. I believe the truth about finding your purpose is you'll never really know the truth because our base is not big enough. Think about
what's not big enough?
Our base. Our base is not big enough. Think about a chicken in a poultry farm. What does he believe his purpose is? In comparison to what we know. But who are we to assume we know it all? There's something probably beyond us that's looking down at us saying, look at these human beings. What are they even doing? I think if you really come to that picture, you realize, yeah, universe is there for you, but also the universe doesn't really give a shit about you. The earth is going to remain spinning, whatever happens to you. And I think it's because people put so much self-centered attention on themselves, thinking the world's all about me. It's because that's the reason why people feel purposeless. And that's what I did through literally up until 17. It was all about me. It's all about me, how I want to feel purposeful, how I want to find my life's purpose, how I want to feel motivated. It was a moment I began realizing actually it's not about me. It's about extending beyond myself. How can I contribute value? How can I leave a lasting legacy? How can I change people's lives? That's the moment I realized purpose comes from just momentum, extending beyond yourself.
Wow. Powerful. Thank you. All right. So that's all the questions I have for you right now. Thank you so much for hopping on, man. It's so great to connect with you on a deeper level. And, if you're interested in checking out more of Tim Han, check him out on YouTube at Success Insider, or check out his website, successinsider.tv. What would you say is the best way people can get a hold of you or learn more about you, if not already mentioned?
Add me on. You can add me on Facebook. Actually, go to Success Insider on Facebook, and you can join our secret group. That's where we will communicate. That's our tribe, and like you say, our YouTube is our main port. But yeah, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, and I just want to mention, in regards to the Facebook group, I'm a member of the Facebook group, and I've been able to look through the content, and it's a really great community of people who are willing to support each other, and it's a great source of accountability and inspiration. So definitely recommend it. I know the group numbers are going to keep growing. Right now it's over 5,000, so that's a pretty good group size. So congratulations with that, and thank you so much for being on, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Richard.
High five.
Awesome.